feel like I want to have a sign up page now because I'd love to know what you think. And I'm going to subscribe to your newsletter because now I just want to talk more to you.
Yeah, I was going to say if you subscribe, you will get that week welcome email. So
Oh, so Sabrina's asking a question. She says, I understand that you're working more B2C. Any best practice for B2B newsletter?
I would say it's all basically the same. Other than obviously you're tailoring your messaging. The tactics I think are all basically the same. It's just that you're tailoring your messaging to who you're speaking to. For example, I don't know if you want to tell me what your niche or industry is. I can sort of give you an example.
All right, Sabrina can unmute herself now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Sabrina.
Right. Hi. So I'm a consultant, marketing consultant for businesses in the financial industry, manufacturing industry, health and safety. We have clients who are also working with medical supply and stuff like that. So it's very particular, and I don't think those people are going to reply to your email at all. So it's kind of
I think they would. What do they? I don't know if you happen to see. I think it was the second session where we talk. Well, it's the end of the first session, started the second session where we talk about like how to figure out a topic. But what with your audience, what is it forget newsletter for a second? What is it that they want? What's their what do they value? What are they trying to figure out?
But the issue is that most of the time, the people who receive those emails, they are not business owner like I am or like you are. They are employees. So most of them, they don't give a monkeys about, the stuff. They are ready
Well, but
to.
they have a job. What do they have to do? What are they trying to do?
Well, usually the people I'm working with, they are targeting the buyers. So they need to understand the product as their best and how they're going to help their company at some point and get the best pricing. That's most of.
Okay, perfect. So and this won't be exact, obviously, because I don't know all the nuances, but let's go with that, right? So if you decided that your target audience is employees who are trying to figure out how to get better how to get better prices for whatever they're doing, right? If you
Yeah.
created a newsletter that's specifically sharing tips about how to get better prices, they're all going to care. And if your welcome email says, thanks for subscribing to the, better pricing newsletter or whatever, we share tips to help you figure out how to get better prices. Tell me a little about, what you're struggling with or any challenges you have, and I'll give you some suggestions. I think they would not all of them, but some of them would absolutely reply and would say, oh, hey, we're buying this thing and I feel like we're paying too much. How do I figure out if we are paying too much, or how do I negotiate a better price or whatever? So I think they absolutely, I hope that makes sense, but I think the same thing
Yeah.
would work. You just have to position it to what your audience wants.
Okay. Cool.
That
Thank
makes
you
sense?
so much. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm building those content planning for those clients, and it's not easy every day. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else have any questions or anything they want to share? Oh, LaDonna has a question. Um, says the one paragraph email you send during the week, is it sent daily and is it an extension of your newsletter or is more email marketing to your subscribers?
Yes. So let me give you the quick backstory of how that came to be. So for about 5 years, my Fourth Interested newsletter was just one email a week. It was that Sunday email. It included like five are curated. Originally it was 10. I cut it back to like 5 curated articles. That's what it was. Then all the time I was talking to people, clients and other people, and I would always say, look, a newsletter doesn't have to be long. Like a newsletter could be a sentence, and I bet it would work really well as long as it was valuable. People, whatever. So as a complete experiment, I started a separate newsletter that I called the Daily Graph, and that was every weekday. It was a one paragraph email newsletter, right? People loved it, and the way I launched it was I just promoted it. I said, hey, to my newsletter, I'm like, hey, I'm starting this other thing. It's a daily. If you want it, great, right? So a couple thousand people wound up subscribing to it, and the feedback was great, and I liked writing it, and it wasn't hard because it was so short, and I could schedule it far in advance. But then I got to a point where I was like, well, the audiences for this are kind of the same. I'm promoting these two different newsletters. So now some people are subscribing to the daily that aren't getting the Sunday. Some people are subscribing to the Sunday that aren't getting the daily. Some people who are getting the Sunday haven't checked it out just because they're too lazy to sign up, even though I know they would like it. Like, what am I doing? So I collapsed them and basically changed for the interested to be the Sunday email that it always was, and then these one paragraph daily editions. They're not email marketing. There's no overlap. The Sunday is not a summary of the daily. I do allow people to opt out of the daily. So some people still just get the Sunday one. But for simplicity of all of it, I just sort of collapsed it. It's not exactly how I started, but I realized it doesn't make sense to sort of have these two competing things. So the people that opt out of the daily, they don't ever see that stuff because the Sunday is totally different. And again, for me, this goes back to some of the here's what I knew that doing that would cost me some subscribers, but I cared more. I knew the ones that stayed and that got that daily would be even closer to me, would be even a stronger connection. So I don't, it's one of the reasons why my newsletter now, even though that 25,000 number is out there, I'm really more at like 18,000 subscribers than 25 because I've cleaned the list and I've, and whatever. But that the open rates are higher. Like I care at the end of the day how many people are reading this and clicking. So that's what it is. It's a little confusing. It's also why on the sign up page, I don't even say it's a daily, it's a weekly. It's why in the welcome email, I go, here's what you're going to get. But yes, so not necessarily how I would recommend it, but that's how it got there.
That's a great question, LaDonna.
Yeah.
So we have like 1 minute left. I don't know if oh good, Michael's got a question. Do you use RSS feeds, Pocket, or other tools to find and aggregate information for possible inclusion in your newsletter as a link to an article or to use as the basis for your own article?
I do not. They certainly can be very helpful. I wouldn't say not to use them. Personally, the biggest source of stuff that I find, aside from stuff that I create, is subscribing to other newsletters and following people on Twitter. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters. And when I subscribe to them, I subscribe with a sort of alternate email address. So instead of Josh at joshspector.com, it's Josh plus newsletter at joshspector.com. And I filter those directly to a newsletter folder. So that essentially, it's not an RSS feed, but essentially I have a separate folder that is just my newsletter subscriptions, and I can go through them. The thing with RSS, and again, RSS is, I'm not saying not to use it. Everyone sort of has their own system. But for me, I like newsletters because there's a layer of curation before I even get to it versus, oh, this person might have a good blog and I subscribe and then my RSS feed's giving me everything they've done. I'd rather just subscribe to other curators who are surfacing the best. And it's the same thing with Twitter, right? I don't follow publications on Twitter. I follow individual creator, thought leader, curator types. But it can work, Pocket, RSS feeds, all those things are good. It's really just personal preference.